Hello everyone and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And I gotta start with this from Block News. Just in, Google App Store to ban all crypto wallets without federal licenses in the US and EU. And they're citing AML and KYC. Like I've been saying this entire time, if you're using a wallet that doesn't do KYC or AML, most likely that wallet will disappear if they're not carrying the right licensing. Same thing is going to happen with exchanges. And you know, some of these exchanges actually boast the fact that they don't do KYC or AML. Most likely, if you're holding assets on those exchanges, those assets will disappear with that exchange. And we're also going to see a bottleneck with crypto. 99% of crypto will also disappear once regulations are fully in place. Right now, it's still early and this is already happening. This shows you what's coming over the coming months. You gotta keep your crypto safe. Get a cold wallet. Store your crypto there. I always tell people, if you don't like Decent, then get Ledger. I use both of those wallets because of this exact reason. Ripple isn't knocking anymore. It's inside the control room of global finance. I thought this was a great thread. So the partnership that changes everything. Ripple and EastNets. Here's why this is huge for XRP. EastNets equals Swift access. Swift is the backbone of global payments. By partnering with EastNets, Ripple now has direct link to Swift, ISO 222, and 800 plus banks and central banks. This isn't just adoption, it's integration. DLT embedded in Payment Safe. EastNets Payment Safe now uses Ripple tech, enabling instant settlement, crushing Swift delays. This means real-time cross-border transfers at scale. Efficiency level is top. Ripple is moving beyond payments. CBDCs, policy rooms, and World Economic Forum influence circles. They're shaping the future of global finance. From compliance to clearing, Ripple's tech is becoming the standard. This isn't hype, it's history in the making. Ripple now sits where decisions are made. Global finance is shifting, and XRP is at the center. Everything we ever thought would happen around XRP is happening right now. People years ago always said someday Ripple is going to replace Swift. This is already in motion. Like Rosie Rios said, the train has already left the station. BNY Mellon joins Open Eden as investment manager and custodian for the T-bill tokenized U.S. Treasury Fund, bridging TradFi and DeFi. Who else is Open Eden working with? That's right, Ripple. Open Eden introduces tokenized U.S. Treasury bills onto the XRP ledger. So as they're tokenizing the U.S. Treasury bills, they're still going to have to move those around. How do you move those around? Through the XRP ledger, utilizing something like XRP. It's like one big circle is happening. But BNY Mellon, they've been working with Ripple in the background for years. So this actually all makes sense. This comes from Pumpius. Again, another great thread. Ripple was never the outsider fighting the U.S. government, but its proxy all along. The lawsuit, the drama, the David versus Goliath story, all smoke and mirrors to let Ripple wire the new financial rails into the world while operating in stealth right here at home. And that's absolutely true. Think about it. During the bear market, when they were fighting it out with the SEC, what was Ripple doing in the background? They went global. They were building rails everywhere outside the United States. From day one, Ripple's tech was designed for institutions, not hobbyists. Near zero fees, instant settlement, ISO compliance before it was even mandated. This wasn't a garage startup. This was infrastructure engineered to replace SWIFT, not compete with it. Look at their partners. Federal Reserve pilots in the background, central banks, Bhutan, Palau, Montenegro, deep corridors in the Middle East and Asia, ties to U.S. defense-linked banks like BNY Mellon. This is not the footprint of a rogue fintech. This is sanctioned expansion. Someone had to let this happen. And that's why I always said the elites were positioning Ripple a long time ago. The SEC lawsuit, the perfect cover. While headlines screamed Ripple in trouble, they quietly signed over 1,700 contracts and NDAs with global financial giants. Every corridor opened abroad under the guise of fleeing the United States was actually part of a blueprint to bring the rails home later. The controlled opposition model is straight out of the intelligence playbook. Make the target look like the victim. Let them build freely overseas. Then flip the narrative and reveal the tech as the government's own. By the time anyone realizes, the rails are already in. Remember, RLUSD, Ripple's stablecoin pilot. It's fully U.S. compliant, designed for institutional custody, and plugs directly into the XRP ledger. Once the flip is switched, RLUSD becomes the domestic bridge asset with XRP handling global settlements. Why the secrecy? Because if the public knew the U.S. was laying the foundation for a blockchain-based reserve system, there'd be resistance. Better to make it look like a private company fighting for freedom than admit the state is replacing the dollar rails in real time. Now here's the curveball. DNA Protocol, a U.S.-linked genomic data project built on the XRP ledger. If the rails move money, they can move any asset, including biodata. Tokenizing DNA means controlling not just finance, but identity itself. Put it together. Ripple builds global rails under opposition cover. The U.S. quietly ensures domestic compatibility. Tokenization expands from money, real-world assets to identity. Control shifts from the banking system to the XRP ledger. Ripple isn't just working with the U.S. government. Ripple is the U.S. government's blockchain arm. The lawsuit was the smokescreen. The expansion was the mission. And the ledger is the new constitution. I really thought that was a great thread, because this is what it looks like happened exactly during the entire time from 2022 to 2025. And now that everything is almost complete all around the world, it looks like it's almost go time. And I've been pointing that out for a while. You know, the government, Ripple has always been tied to the U.S. government. You know, they were already talking about Ripple back in 2017, 18, 19, and 20, and the digital dollar back then. But then it seemed like everything had to get put on hold until the right time. That brings us up to where we are now. Yes, XRP is aimed largely at financial institutions. Ripple and XRP are designed for financial institutions, not retail. Its business model is built on the XRP ledger, and financial institutions must integrate their systems with the XRP ledger to use Ripple services. The Ripple protocol is not built to interface directly with consumers and businesses and does not govern retail prices. BNP Paribas has confirmed in its documentation that the XRP ledger is a protocol built for institutions. XRP is not for retail. I don't think we were ever supposed to hold this cryptocurrency. Honestly, I don't. I think it just so happened that early on, XRP was released on the exchanges and people started to buy it up. But Ripple's entire business model is geared towards institutional adoption. The fact that we beat the institutions to XRP, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And a lot of people are going to get very rich because that happened. That's why you buy XRP at these prices while you still can. Because sooner or later, you're going to be priced out. And I think that time is coming. Crypto Mom Pierce says the SEC is not waiting for Congress to act on crypto. What she's saying is that the agency can do a lot without Congress, and that they want to continue pushing ahead with or without Congress. They want to get a lot of things put in place. And I like the idea of that because we have a pro-crypto SEC this time around. So the more things that the SEC gets done ahead of these laws that are coming, I think everything will be positioned much sooner. Everything will happen much sooner. So the timeline will change again. SEC wants to open crypto to retail. Take a listen to this.
Let's talk a little bit about that EO. So it instructs the Department of Labor and the SEC to adjust their rules and regulations to allow those retirement accounts to invest in private assets, to invest in crypto, or at least to allow it. How will the SEC approach this? What does that checklist look like?
Katie, it's great to be here. I think we've already started that process of opening the private markets to retail and thinking about ways that we can get them access in a way that's diversified, professionally managed, and consistent with their investing timeframes. And so I think we'll just continue with that work.
Appreciate that context. So as we continue on and as you approach this, talk us through some of the potential risks that you're thinking about, because certainly a lot of folks on Wall Street and elsewhere have been anticipating these rule changes, but there's also a lot of concern, too, about putting what are risky assets in retirement accounts.
Yes, I mean, I think those are legitimate concerns. What we've seen, of course, is that the public markets are dominated by several large companies, and also companies are waiting longer to go public. And so we're looking for a way for retail to get earlier access to the growth of companies. And so that's really the goal of it.
So they want to allow retail to get the upper hand on the institutions. And I think that's a great idea, but that happened in crypto a long time ago. And I think they should have done this years ago. I think they would have brought a lot of other retail investors into this space if they weren't anti-crypto already. But it is nice that they finally realize retail should get first mover advantage when it comes to certain things. Over $60 million in XRP leaves biggest Korean exchange in one large transfer. Now they're saying that on-chain mapping shows the transaction hitting a receiving address before branching out into multiple smaller sub-wallets, a typical setup when an exchange is preparing for periods of heavy activity. So are they expecting even more activity coming out of the Korean market? Korea absolutely loves XRP. And I think once the price really starts to move, I think you're going to see even more FOMO coming out of Korea. Maybe they're positioning ahead of that, already getting prepared for what's to come. Where did this XRP army come from? Take a listen to this.
XRP, Brad Garlinghouse has done an amazing job of creating. And I asked him a few times, I was thinking, where does this XRP army come from? And he said, I'm not even sure. Like, they care about this. I mean, when they went through that lawsuit, this guy dug deep. What was it? Not Doug. who was the guy, Deaton, the lawyer, then he ran for...
John Deaton, yeah.
John Deaton.
Yeah, he was on the show.
That guy was literally tweeting 9 times a day, fighting this case in court. He didn't even know the guys at Ripple originally. This was part of his community, and he thought this was an injustice done to his community. And so I think one of the things that crypto has added to investing in general is the idea that community is valuable, right? Look at Tesla or Palantir. They're stocks. We call them meme stocks from a memic value. It's community. Find me one person in the world that says, I'm an Oracle guy, right? I'm an Oracle. I'm part of the Oracle army. Doesn't exist. No one's got an Oracle tattoo, even though Oracle's one of the most amazing companies out there. Larry Ellison's the second richest man in the world.
Right.
Equities weren't communities. Right? Crypto brought this idea of community, and it's coming from this breakdown in trust. And therefore, they can be just as passionate about crypto punks, the crypto punk community. Listen, do I think they'll all have the same lasting power as Bitcoin? No. But I've been so freaking wrong on how long some of them have lasted, right? XRP is still the number 3 token. Their people care about it. And when I say care about it, they are choosing to take their hard-earned dollars that they make as a salesperson or as a garbage man or as a chef or as a computer engineer, and they're storing that value in a community, right? In the Bitcoin community, we're storing it on this blockchain that is really guarded by this complex group of miners, right? We store our wealth in this thing, but it's because we're trusting in the community.
And digital asset investor, the comment he made, he got it spot on. Where did this XRP army come from? They're baffled by anything that wasn't created by the Wall Street PR machine, which is behind Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana, because that's the way things have always been done. So when they see something else that's starting to gain momentum, they try to dismiss it. They always say, well, it's not going to ever replace Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to be around forever. I mean, I don't know if Novogratz just doesn't understand what's about to happen or if he is deliberately playing stupid. Because if you can't see a new financial system coming when you're starting to see everything get put in motion already, you have to be blind to it. You have to be blinded by Bitcoin to not see the big picture here. Bitcoin is not going to be moving the world's money. These utility-driven cryptocurrencies are going to be the value movers of the future. And when that happens, their precious Bitcoin is going to be dethroned. It's no longer going to be the #1 cryptocurrency. That time is already coming. The same way that Netflix replaced Blockbuster, the same way XRP is going to replace Bitcoin. It's just a matter of time. And until it all happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.